Hey Toy fans, D21Beast here, back with another figure review for you guys today, and we are looking at the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Chameleon figure released by Hasbro in 2015. Now this particular Marvel Legends figure I got super excited for last year when I saw it announced. To start with, it's actually the first Marvel Legends Chameleon figure we've ever received, so great to get another Spider-Man villain in our collection. But it also features alternate heads for Jonah Jameson and Hammerhead, and I was super excited to see that Jonah head included. Jonah is actually one of my favorite supporting characters from the Spider-Man universe, and I dare say I'm more excited for the Jonah head to put on this Chameleon body than the actual Chameleon figure overall. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. If you're not familiar with Chameleon, he did first appear in Amazing Spider-Man #1 from 1963, and he was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Chameleon is actually a Mafia-based character, or Maggia as the Marvel Comics universe referred to it, who is best known for being a master of disguise. Chameleon is also notably the half-brother of Spider-Man baddie Kraven the Hunter, and in fact was actually the man who initially put Spidey on Kraven's radar back in Amazing Spider-Man #15, when Chameleon was the one who recruited Kraven the Hunter to track down Spider-Man for the first time. Now, originally Chameleon would wear a series of masks in the comics to change his identity, but over the years he has received a technological upgrade, including a belt that, when pressed, would change his identity on the spot, as featured during the early parts of the Clone Saga story arc from the comics, and even on the 90s Spider-Man animated series. But I think more recently in comics, he's just taken a special serum that allows his face to be super pliable, so he can mold his identity into anybody he wishes. So there's your quick bit of Marvel history, and I can't wait to check this Chameleon figure out, but let's get things started by taking a look at the packaging for this figure. As you come down the front of this box, you do have that Rhino Build-A-Figure emblem in the upper left, and the Spider-Man logo there towards the center. You do have a window box packaging that does house this Chameleon figure inside, as well as his accessories and Build-A-Figure pieces. You've got the Marvel Legends Infinite Series logo, and finally at the bottom it does read Savage Force. Chameleon is a swap pack figure with Kraven the Hunter from this same wave. And as we flip this package around, you once again have that Marvel Legends Infinite Series logo and Spider-Man logo there at the top. You do have a bio for Chameleon. Go ahead and pause now to read that. As we come down the package, you've got that Rhino Build-A-Figure emblem one more time, and finally you have a complete lineup of all the figures currently available in this wave, as well as what their Build-A-Figures combined to create. We have Rhino off to the left. Alright guys, well that's the packaging. Let's say we get this Maggia Superstar out of the box and see what he's all about. Alright Toy fans, so here we have Chameleon out of the packaging, and right up front I've got to say I really like the look of this figure, but what I don't like are those ankles. This figure has some ankle articulation, barely, but it's really hard to get his feet more than just sticking straight forward. By that I mean I can't articulate them up at all, so standing this guy is a bit tricky. He actually has a tendency on me to want to fall backwards, so I just got to be careful about that. And keep that in mind, your Chameleon may work out the same way. I think it's a sculpting issue, not necessarily the way the figure was assembled per se. But looking at the detail on this figure, I think he looks absolutely great. Let's get a close-up on that head sculpt. I'm really a big fan of the way that Hasbro has chosen to do the head sculpt on this Chameleon figure. Chameleon's had some slightly different looks over the years, but this is sort of the 90s look for the character, I guess, when he was being drawn by Mark Bagley. They do give a little bit of yellow paint there to the teeth to kind of separate it from the overall paint scheme of the head. I suppose I could have made those teeth a little more white, but I do like that the yellow kind of breaks it up so you can actually see the mouth on the figure. The eyes on this figure I think are painted very, very well, and they stare straight on very nicely. I like that this Chameleon seems to have avoided the issue that Hasbro has been having lately with the eyes not being straight on their figures. In fact, not only is this head perfect, but the Jonah and the Hammerhead heads that this guy comes with are also pretty good, and we'll look at those in just a second. But then I do like the blue sort of overspray, I guess it is, on the head. That kind of adds some definition to the head, just keeps from looking like a white Voldemort head sculpt, basically. So, great attention to detail there, and I do like that there's this seam going back on the figure, going all the way around to the back of the head. And the ears, of course, you can tell that they are underneath, I guess, some sort of fabric mask or something like that. So, a nice attention to detail on the head. Definitely one of my favorite parts about this figure. Coming down the figure here, this is actually my first suited Marvel Legends figure. I don't have the Agent Coulson figure yet, unfortunately. But as you can see here, the tie is sculpted nicely. It's got a little bit of a wrinkle there at the top. There's no real paint detail. It's just kind of molded in a dark blue plastic. His suit is a dark blue plastic, and it is actually a different color from the tie. Underneath, we have a black shirt. I believe this is actually just black plastic as well, molded in that color. But then we get a little bit of paint detail here on the belt. We've got a silver belt buckle and then black sort of leather going around, or painted to look like black leather going around the waist. And then coming down the figure here, no additional paint detail, just blue plastic. And then we have a sort of shiny black plastic for the shoe. And flipping the figure around, again, just the base color for the plastic the figure is molded in. So they definitely saved money there, but they definitely made up for it by including those extra head sculpts. Let's go ahead and take a look at those. The first head sculpt we have here is the Hammerhead head sculpt. Now, sculpting-wise, I think this head looks really, really great. I got a nice flat top here with a little bit of detail sculpted in for the hair. I think the face actually looks really nice. There's tons of facial wrinkles. Again, the eyes are just painted perfectly on this figure. I'm very happy about that. And as we rotate the head around, all the paint is pretty solid and thick. I don't have any issues with this head sculpt at all. I do have a problem with how the head fits on the Chameleon figure, though. Here we have the Hammerhead combination compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite Series Wolverine. Now, while this Wolverine is a bit tall for Marvel Legend, he stands at exactly 6 inches tall. Hammerhead is even taller than that, and really, on a 6-inch figure, Hammerhead's head should be coming up around the chest height level. Hammerhead's more of a stocky, shorter guy, and he always wears pinstripe suits, so we are missing out on that with this Chameleon body, but at least Hasbro gave us the head. I just wish they would have given us this head sculpt with a more appropriately sized body. Hey, you know, Fuzzy, I'm not used to being portrayed this tall.
I was about to say, who do you think you are, Hugh Jackman?
Moving on to the next head sculpt, I absolutely love this Jonah head that we have here. Again, we've got pretty immaculate paint on the figure's head sculpt going all the way around. There's just a little bit of flesh tone coming in above the great temples there, but mostly I'm really impressed that Hasbro has finally gotten the hairline painted properly. As you can see here, it almost completely touches at the hairline. Typically on head sculpts, you'll see that the paint is just a little high and you can see some sculpted hair. Get a little bit of that there, but overall I'm really happy with the way that this head sculpt has been handled. The eyebrows are painted very nicely. Again, we got tons of great facial features sculpted in there. The eyes are looking straight on. Now, there has been some complaints I've seen lauded at the mustache and not laying naturally. This is a comic book based figure, so I really don't have a problem with that, and I think the extra sort of animated facial hair actually lends to the sort of anger being emoted by this head sculpt, so I actually like that quite a bit. I do notice the mouth is open though, and that there's even sort of a wider or more open size to the mouth there on the lower right. I guess on the lower left as you're looking at the head. I almost wonder if at some point there was a cigar that was supposed to be in this Jonah's mouth when they were sculpting the head sculpt and they had to take it out for, you know, child toy reasons or what have you. Would have been great to see that in there, but really, this head sculpt is absolutely phenomenal and probably one of my favorite head sculpts I've seen from Marvel Legends in recent memory. When it comes to switching the head sculpt, pulling Chameleon's head off is pretty easy, but you do have to use a bit of force to get the Jonah head or the Hammerhead head put onto the Chameleon body. Just go ahead and plug it onto the ball joint here, just jam it down there. There we go. And I actually like a lot the way that this Jonah body, or the Jonah head rather, works with this body. Now, typically Jonah doesn't wear blue on black. You'll notice that he typically in the comics has, if he does wear blue, he's got a white shirt underneath, or if he has black on at all, it's usually a vest. That said, even though we don't really have the perfect Jonah color scheme, I do like the way this head looks on the body. And let's go ahead and bring in the Wolverine figure one more time here. And you'll see that he does stand just a little bit taller than Wolverine, which is fine. Again, Wolverine's a little tall himself, but I do think that this Jonah scales nicely compared to a 6-inch figure.
What are you looking at, you menace?
Chameleon comes with all the accessories that you see here. The first is the left Build-A-Figure arm for Rhino, which does look nice, but we'll look at that more in detail when I review that Build-A-Figure. Next, we've got this sort of Thompson submachine gun. Now, it has a flat magazine on it. I wish it would have had the sort of barrel or drum magazine. That would have been more accurate for the Hammerhead head that's included with this figure. I do wonder if this gun is reused from the World War II Captain America figure that came out back in the early Hasbro Marvel Legends days. I never picked up that figure, but otherwise this might be a completely original weapon that we'll get to see used several times over now with future mobster characters that Hasbro might want to create using that body mold. And then we have this sort of, I don't know what this is, futuristic assault rifle weapon of some sort. It's definitely painted to look like it runs on some sort of plasma energy type weapon. You can remove the drum, and interestingly, it's got a bullet at the top of the drum, so obviously they've painted this to be something it's not quite really meant to be. Not a big fan of this weapon. Hopefully they save it for future Guardians of the Galaxy figures or something along those lines. And then we have this handgun. Now, this handgun I don't recognize. It might be reused from earlier Marvel Legends figures, and if it is, let me know in the comments below who it came with. But I think this is perfect for the Chameleon, just to have in his hand as sort of his sidearm should his identity ever be blown. So great sort of sculpted little piece there, and I like the silver that they've used for it. And then of course we have the Jonah and the Hammerhead heads that we've already discussed, but that rounds out the accessories for this figure. Articulation wise, Chameleon's got a head that'll bend down that far and up that far very nicely, rotates all the way around. He's got a 4 rotation here at the shoulder, and an arm will bend out from the body only about that far. Upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, 4 rotation here at the wrist, and the hand will bend back and down that far. Same articulation here on the other side. He has an ab crunch that'll bend forward a click and then bend back a click. Doesn't really bend back so far because of the sculpt of the torso here. The tie does not hinder the articulation, however. His hip joint will move forward that far, move back that far, out from the body about that far, upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and then we have that ankle articulation that bends down very far, up only so far. It has that Hasbro ankle pivot we like, but man, this toe doesn't go up far enough, I think, to take full advantage of the complete range of the ankle articulation that he does have. But really a great range of articulation for this figure overall. Height-wise, we can see that this Chameleon figure does stand just a hair over 6 inches tall. For some size comparison, here we've got Chameleon compared to his half-brother Kraven the Hunter.
Looking good, Sergey. Spasibo, Tovarищ.
Here he is compared to the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Pizza Spidey released earlier this year.
Hey, Spider-Man!
Yeah?
You're fat and you're ugly. And Spidey?
Yeah?
If you see Parker anywhere, tell him he's fired!
Huh? And finally, here he is compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite Series Wolverine.
Bob, you are cold.
Alright, toy fans, well that's my review of the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Rhino Build-A-Figure Wave Chameleon figure released by Hasbro in 2015. Overall, did this figure live up to my expectations? Well, yeah, he did mostly. I do think the ankle articulation needs to be improved on this figure and this body mold in general if they're going to use it moving forward, but I love the interchangeable pieces that this Chameleon figure has. He's got some great gun accessories, even if one of them doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at the end of the day, he's a really fun figure to add to your collection. Hasbro has really been on a roll this year with the Marvel Legends Spider-Man figures, and I'm glad to see that Chameleon got his due treatment. Well, thanks for watching this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you saw here, please feel free to rate, share, and subscribe. Also, be sure to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at D21Beast. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.